Hi, this is John from Sharp Mountain Games. Thanks for joining us here today. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at what tropes or themes from superhero comics and movies and TV shows that you might want to bring into your D&D campaign. Now, why am I making this video? Much like the last video on Star Trek, what I would say is many of us have been running D&D for a long time, and it's really important to think about new ideas and, so we don't get stale or burn out in our DMing. Why superheroes? They're very popular, especially right now, very familiar to the public. And maybe also you'd like to run a superhero game, but your group really prefers D&D. So here's some ways to incorporate maybe some of what you love about superheroes into the D&D game. And let's face it too, at higher levels, D&D characters practically are superheroes, once they get into higher magic powers and things. But let's take a look, and maybe you'll find the two genres aren't as incompatible as, at first we might think. So the first major trope, that absolutely sticks out for superheroes is that they have a secret identity. It's the hallmark. They're Peter Parker or Diana Prince or Bruce Wayne or whatever. So why would a medieval adventurer want to use a secret identity? Well, that might depend on your world or certain sections of your world. Perhaps magic is really rare and feared by the general public, and I don't think that would be out of line with a medieval society. So it might just be better to keep all that to yourself and just kind of quietly check out troubles using magic at night. Maybe fighters and thieves are mistrusted as well, because of the violence or because of the sketchiness of their profession. So maybe they pose as a farmer or a blacksmith during the day, and they go into the dungeon at night. And that's even a good reason maybe why they might use a mask or a costume, because they don't want people in their own town knowing that they're secretly an adventurer. In fact, just like in the comics, it could lead to some interesting role-playing. Perhaps their heroic persona is really admired or maybe even feared by people in the village. So, maybe somebody's talking about them while they're together in the tavern and they're talking about their secret identity. That could make for some really fun role-playing. Now let's talk about affiliations. Superheroes tend to have, or they often have, people who help them in the community. Like you have Commissioner Gordon in Batman or Captain Stacy in Spider-Man. So these can be great sources for adventure hooks. And they might be even willing to pay for some of your living expenses, if you're helping to protect the town from goblin invasions and things like that. Now, they may or may not know your real identity. That's certainly up to you. Now, also your players could be part of a larger organization that helps fund the group. So then you don't have to worry about, day-to-day things and day-to-day living expenses. For example, the Justice League. I know for a while there was Justice League Europe comic books. I know there's Justice League Dark, I think, right now. The Avengers had a bunch of, they had the Avengers in New York, they had the Avengers West Coast, and even if you remember the Great Lakes Adventures during John Byrne's run of West Coast Avengers, I think they had some comics of their own. So your group of adventurers certainly could be a branch of some larger organization that helps pay the bills. And this larger organization can also provide missions. Perhaps for a higher level group, they might use teleportation to send you to exotic locales once in a while. So, maybe usually you're in a medieval forest or a medieval country and you want to go to, like in a European type country, and you want to go and adventure in a pyramid or something, or a desert adventure or a jungle adventure. Now, the next thing that superheroes love is a base or a lair, like the Batcave or the Fortress of Solitude. And there's no reason your players couldn't have that too. It could be a barn or a cave or a secret room in a wizard's tower. Absolutely, they could have a base or a lair. Could be something they earn after a long time of adventuring, or a place to meet and to train. Or maybe you want to start them out owning this layer, especially if they're part of a larger organization. They might, set them up. Or if you're starting your players at a higher level, you can just say, hey, you've already adventured for a while, and you now have your base or your layer. It's kind of a nice way to have a stable home for adventurers, and it can even be used for adventure seeds. Remember the Batcave? It seemed like bad guys were, especially on the old Batman TV show, bad guys were always busting in there somehow. So maybe, your secret layer is found out. Now, of course, you can't have superheroes without supervillains. And that seems like one that is a little more difficult maybe to bring into D&D, but let's talk about what supervillains. I'd say they have two main traits. They're flamboyant and they're recurring. So people like the Joker, the Green Goblin, Thanos, Hela, they're a bit larger than life. Now, you may not want to give your D&D villains a code name like Joker or Trickster or something like that, but you still might want something that's unique for them. Perhaps they leave a chess piece. Maybe they're like Therok the Gamester, and I just made that up. But maybe they leave a chess piece, whenever they steal something or attack a village or something. So they have some kind of calling card, sort of like the Joker leaving literally calling cards. Just sort of a way or a theme for them. Maybe they always leave a skull or a bone or something. Now, in terms of being recurring, that's kind of a problem in D&D. But in comic books, you want to keep your villains around a long, long time so you can keep reusing them. In D&D, if you bring them on stage too soon, your players are going to want to kill them, and they should probably have that ability. So maybe they tend to use minions at first. Maybe for the first few sessions, you don't even get to see them, but the minions say their name or have a book or have instructions with the person's name on it. So that's kind of a way to sneak the villain into your campaign a little bit earlier before the final confrontation, especially when they might kill them. Now, if you really want to keep them alive, you could always have them, maybe they have a teleport spell or a ring that lets them get away. Now, the danger in this is I don't know if you want to do it all the time. Like Skeletor used to do it always at the end of a He-Man episode because they needed him for the next episode. At some point, you may want, that could be frustrating to your players. So you may want to think about, well, how long is this supervillain going to be around? And when are we going to finally, let the players have a confrontation where they have some chance of killing him or her? Now, the last thing, and probably the most important thing, is that superheroes tend to work for the greater good. Always. That's just a hallmark. They're heroes. They always use their powers and abilities in service of others, and how would you bring that into fantasy? Well, let's look at 3 specific examples. That might work better. So think about Batman. He takes to adventuring because his parents were killed. Well, talk with your players. Maybe they want to put something like that in their backstory. And I have had players use that in the past. So maybe their family was killed or their village was destroyed. So now they work against maybe certain evil societies or groups or certain evil magicians. They have that spark like Batman in their past. Now, Superman. Think about all Superman's powers. Clearly, you're talking about a high-level magic user, cleric in a D&D world. So maybe your character was trained in the ways of magic, either divine or arcane, and you feel like you're charged with helping those who don't have these magical abilities. Now, for Spider-Man, really what motivates him in a lot of ways is regret. He let the criminal go who eventually went and killed Uncle Ben. So maybe you have a rogue character or a fighter even who regrets some of the things they've done in the past, and they're trying to serve the greater good, a little bit to make amends for that. So that's certainly a possibility. But these are all things you probably need to talk with your players about. Especially if you have players who like to write backstories, I think they would love ideas like this. And there may be other ones too, I'm certain you could tap into. So hopefully there are some things here that maybe you can bring to your own game. Now, you may not say, well, I don't want to run a whole campaign like this. Sure, but it might be fun for an evening. You might think about just doing it, maybe when they go into a particular village, they can't use their powers for whatever reason, or they have to keep things quiet because they're trying to, get more information on a villain or an evil wizard or something like that. Maybe there's a local official who'll only meet with them at night because he doesn't want people to know that he's helping a group of adventurers. And maybe there's something in their past that compels them to go out and seek justice. This could all be fun. I think these are all decent ideas that I hope you can use. And I'm sure there's other ones too. If you have any ideas, please place them in the comments. But just remember, with a D20 comes great responsibility. So if you can hit the like or subscribe, that'd be great. And thanks for watching. And I hope you can check out our game supplements, which are listed in the links below. And I hope to see you again.